Podcast. Honored to be with you tonight. Yes, brother, it has been about 4 days since I've been online. Glad to have you guys with me yet again for some interesting, to say the least, news of what we have over the last couple of days. So, of course, if you've been watching or keeping up with any of the news, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but we've been witnessing this art of the deal unfolding before our very eyes. Of course, we're talking about the Iranian deal. Now, this is actually a memorandum of understanding, and you're having people like Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer, and many others who are praising Donald Trump for this exact deal. Now, here's what Donald Trump says. He says, "The deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby fully authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines. Let the oil flow." Now you're seeing $80 a barrel for crude oil. And this is incredible because we've been looking at this situation from an outside perspective, not knowing much of the details. We always heard from the media, of course, legacy media, talking about the failure of this. And the true reality of what we're seeing here is that we know the type of regime that we are dealing with. The regime that we're dealing with is a regime that lies. They will say they're making a deal, and then they will turn around and tell their own media, their state-approved media, that, we've won. This is a victory for Iran. Donald Trump is weak. And you'll see that happening. Even the foreign minister saying for the media to refrain from speculating about the deals. But now we have a 14-point plan. So if you're just joining me for this broadcast tonight, consider subscribing. Email us, freedom@willieoakshow.com. Let's get to this 14-point plan here. This is a memorandum of understanding in order to reach a deal within 60 days. So, this is what we're seeing. There's immediate and permanent cessation of hostilities between the U.S., Iran, and their allies, including Lebanon. Mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. No interference in each other's internal affairs. A 60-day negotiation period to reach a final agreement. Iran reaffirms that it will not develop or acquire nuclear weapons, and of course a way to solidify that they're not enriching uranium or that they are trying to develop or even purchase weapons. The U.S. and Iran will negotiate a resolution regarding Iran's enriched nuclear uranium stockpiles. We're also hearing, of course, from the media saying that the U.S. will give tax dollars to 300 billion tax dollars to an investment for Iran to rebuild. But what we're seeing from this 14-point memorandum of understanding, MOU, is that this includes none of that, essentially. Even J.D. Vance explaining it, and many others that are, even Donald Trump discussing this issue, that we're looking at a release of the freezed assets that will, upon the negotiations, upon this whole process, that Donald Trump will unfreeze these assets in order to, phased sanction relief, including oil-related sanctions and access to frozen assets, which will help them. So, this is what is being speculated on by media. Of course, Reuters reporting, saying that the U.S. support for economic recovery and reconstruction assistance for Iran reportedly discussed in hundreds of billions of dollars. This is according to Reuters. And so you're seeing this tug and pull from the left-wing media, from the right-wing media, and saying, look, this is not true. Donald Trump talks about this, but he discusses why this deal was important. Let's take a listen.
If we didn't do this deal, we could have dropped more bombs for another 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 years, you would never have the Hormuz Strait open. You would never have success. Your market would have, instead of going up at levels that nobody's ever seen before, would go down at levels that nobody ever saw before, maybe except for 1929 or whatever. And, you know, all the tough guys don't realize that this wasn't a 3-month deal. This was years in the making. You know why? Because I was the one that killed General Soleimani. And if I didn't kill General Soleimani, we probably wouldn't be talking right now about this deal, because he was a mad genius. They never were able to replace him. But a lot of people forget that. The tough guys, you know, the tough guys that would drive the country right down the tubes. The past 2 days have provided a chance to discuss the details of this historic agreement with many of our closest friends and allies, including the G7 nations and many presidents and prime ministers. As you saw, Prime Minister Modi was here. We had a long talk. He's a great guy. They are thrilled that we made a deal, every one of them. There's not one nation that came to us and said, please, sir, keep dropping bombs on them. Please keep dropping bombs.
Now, when we're looking at even what Hillary Clinton has been saying concerning this, and look, it's funny because you have these set of interviews that Hillary Clinton went on at 92 NY, and you're getting a little bit of an insight as to what the Democratic Party is sort of thinking, even post 2024 elections, all this stuff that we're going to get into in a moment. Just a couple of things to clarify. But this deal here that we're looking at, we see even the Iranian International talking about this same specific $300 billion investment included in the Iran-U.S. Understanding Framework. And so the quote says here, the Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammed said on Wednesday, the framework of the Iran-U.S. Understanding includes around $300 billion in investment, which we know if they're going to play on this idea that the U.S. taxpayer dollar is going to compensate for reconstruction of the damage that has been done to Iran, we know that this is not going to be favorable within the American people. And this is going to be, heavily opposed. And of course, the media will spin this every which way, which this is not what is even mentioned in these data points here concerning the deal. Now, whether this is actually true, we're going to continue to analyze this and look at it. Of course, we see the administration denying that, or not even really, they're talking about these. This is what they released. And so my doubt concerning that $300 billion fund to compensate for damages, it's a statement that is made, I believe, to spin it in a way where people, the left wants conservatives or Trump's base to think that this is, we got into a war, now we're going to fund the problems that we caused. That's not Trump's MO. However, I'm open-minded to see if that's actually, if that's actually what's going to happen. And so, again, J.D. Vance was asked about this, and many others who are already discussing this in light of these, of this revealing of the 14-point plan. Jerry, you say, we really should have impeached Biden over half of the crap he did, but you want to keep throwing up impeach Trump. Now, 100%. The articles of impeachment that would be submitted during his administration, all of this, we have to go back to the summer of indictments with Donald Trump, and this really led to it ticked off the Americans, even the never Trumpers, right? The ones who would not vote for Donald Trump, but they loved the Constitution more than the situation that we're more than their party. And so we get a glimpse of this. Hillary Clinton discussing this at an event, at the 92 NY event. And it's funny because you watch these videos and they were posted online. However, they were removed. I cannot find them. They're not even in my history. Either they went private, they're unlisted, something of the nature because of what she said. Now you're only seeing a few pieces of clips that are online, but I did find the transcript here from the actual interview. And it says here, it says that this is Hillary Clinton saying, quote, before the debate, before what happened at the debate, there was a belief, and it was strongly held inside the White House that he would win again. And at that point, before the debate, there was polling, there were endorsements, there was a glide path to winning. After the debate, I think they were in a state of sort of disbelief about what happened and kept trying to explain it, rationalize it, justify it. And there were a lot of people who publicly and privately then said, this that's not recoverable. Initially, that was denied. They thought it would be. And then eventually he made the decision. That is end quote. Now, if you look at what she said, and I wish I had the clip for you, but I'm guessing that it's completely scrapped. And of course, you have to go through a paywall, I believe, to see the whole interview. But you have this issue about Donald Trump, the indictments that happened. You have Jill Biden in the recent interview, which we have the tape here ready for you to play, talking about her son, Hunter Biden, where she also mentions that they believed that Biden was going to win. But since he wasn't going to win, after the indictments, after he was convicted on all three accounts, the president made a decision. And so they discussed this. So let's take a listen. I think this truly shows how frantic they were, because Donald Trump was on the path, despite the convictions, on the path to win. Now, maybe you remember this, maybe don't, but there were discussions within the Democratic Party that they would allow certain representatives within each county to deny Donald Trump on the ballot. And so there was discussions within the Democratic Party that they would do so. And obviously the Supreme Court would not uphold this. However, by the way, God bless you. Thank you so much for your wonderful gift. Appreciate that. We look at Jill Biden here, and this interview is phenomenal. It's funny. Funny in a way that is so humorous to watch her. It really go on about her husband and the situation that unfolded. It reveals who the Democratic Party is. It reveals about who the Bidens are. Let's take a listen.
After Hunter Biden was convicted on all three counts, the president had a decision to make.
President Biden had said that he would never pardon his son.
He did.
And then he pardoned him. Did you urge the president to think again about that?
Well, you know, Joe said in the beginning, I won't pardon Hunter, I won't pardon Hunter. And then...
and did you say,
and then
don't
the
say that?
Justice Department changed. And I think that the process was not fair to Hunter. But then when Trump was elected, things changed. And we knew that he would target Hunter. And we just could not let our son go to jail on a charge that no one would go, I mean, no one has ever gone to jail for.
Did you urge the president to pardon
Oh,
Hunter?
gosh. I truly supported it. I wanted him to pardon Hunter at that point. And I agreed with Joe.
Now, Devin Archer testified under oath that Hunter Biden's entire business model was selling the brand. And he explicitly admitted that the brand was Joe Biden, the vice president of the United States. He confirmed that Joe Biden was put on speakerphone into business meetings. Again, this is Devin Archer's testimony. 20 different times with foreign oligarchs and shady corporate entities. When the vice president of the United States calls into your business dinner, that isn't a casual chat about the weather. That is a very calculated, high-powered signal to foreign nationals that you have direct access to the seat of global power. Selling the illusion of power while your father actively dials to validate. And that illusion isn't a defense, it's the definition of a massive multi-million-dollar influence peddling scheme. So we have to remember this situation where she's talking about something that, Hunter, she would not let her son go to jail on a charge that no one could go, whatever that means. But we've seen what happened with Joe Biden as the vice president under Barack Obama, and the shady fourth branch of government, the oligarchs, the shadow government, how that was beginning to formulate what would lead up to 2020 and what we saw during COVID, what we saw with Anthony Fauci, what we saw with everything leading up to the indictments, the summer of indictments with Donald Trump. And you see that they feared Donald Trump because they believed that if Donald Trump indeed got elected into presidential position for a second term, that he would weaponize the DOJ and go after them. And you had people like Big Fani Willis. You have Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith, indicting him, effectively to censor not only the speech of Donald Trump, but they're censoring, really it's thought crimes. It was freedom of speech, the right to petition your own government. This is what Donald Trump was doing. Yet when the Democrats did it, there was no problem. And so we follow it. This trails back prior to 2023, 2022. It goes far back to the vice presidency of Joe Biden. And now we're seeing a lot of other discussions like the Comey indictments, like the Letitia James, and how they're saying that Donald Trump's weaponizing the DOJ against them. We saw 8647. We saw the Letitia James fraud, who was putting false information on her mortgage files. And now we have Gavin Newsom, where he's now saying that the DOJ is being weaponized against him in an investigation. Well, let's take a look.
Friends and former employees, not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. His personal attorney now runs the Department of Justice, which has repeatedly gone after his political enemies. Ask Jerome Powell. Sent them after James Comey, Tish James, Adam Schiff. He sent them after Tim Walz, and a woman that a jury found Donald Trump had sexually abused. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list. After calling for my arrest last year, Donald Trump directed his Department of Justice to investigate me. And just in the last week, I've learned that his campaign has reached my own home. To get me, he's coming after my wife, Jen, a public servant, a woman who's dedicated her life to supporting women and girls, someone who has done nothing wrong other than having the temerity to advocate for what she believes in. If they can't intimidate me, they'll go after the mother of our children. Donald Trump picked the wrong target. We have nothing to hide. His political operatives can take every record and read every page, but they'll be looking in the wrong place. Because if they really want to find corruption, look no further than 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Donald Trump is selling the presidency. He's running the largest cash heist in American political history, trading foreign tariff relief for approval of his golf courses, day trading behind the Resolute desk, reaping hundreds of millions of dollars in personal profit. And he's doing it openly. He's doing it on camera. He did it last night on the White House lawn. He's doing it through cryptocurrencies. He's doing it through the receipt of a $400 million private jet from a foreign government that he plans to keep when he leaves office, through his son's ventures in countries where his own administration is simultaneously making policy. His personal fortune has skyrocketed by $4 billion since making his return to office. This is the behavior of a regime, not a republic. The White House has become a marketplace for sneakers and coins and watches, cologne, guitars, Bibles, and phones. Influence for sale, access for sale. And today, my family and I can personally confirm that justice is for sale. To Donald Trump, who I know is watching because he watches everything, I have a message for you. You can subpoena my records. You can investigate me. You can harass me. Put my name on every and any enemies list you have, but leave my wife and family out of your personal vendetta. I'd like to say something to my wife. These times are not normal. They're not ordinary. I love you, and I'm sorry he's doing this. You have not earned a single one of the indignities that he's trying to inflict on you and our children. And to Donald Trump, this country does not belong to you. It does not belong to your cronies. And we're going to fight your lawlessness. And we're going to continue to remind the people of this country of your corruption. That same corruption our founders warned us against as we move to celebrate our 250th anniversary. I'm going to keep reminding Americans of what they warned would happen if a man with no character ever held the office of presidency. So let me say it again. Mr. President, come after me. I'm not going anywhere. And the country is watching.
Now, with Gavin Newsom, we have also reports that just one day after announcing he's under federal investigation, Gavin Newsom has agreed to pay $31,500, an ethics fine that was discovered he didn't timely disclose millions of dollars in donations. Now, here's what's also true. We have this information that he's failed to mention when he's talking about, well, this is what the DOJ is seeking to do, is seeking to weaponize the government against me. And, again, look, subpoena, do everything that you possibly can do. You're going to look in the wrong spot. Well, first of all, what does that mean? Where have you possibly, was he successful in hiding all the evidence that no matter how deep they looked, that they wouldn't find anything? It's possible. We know Gavin Newsom is very shady character, very shady figure. And of course, the DOJ under Joe Biden was investigating him, but they didn't move forward to prosecute. Here we go. This is what we also are seeing on the other end of the spectrum. We see not only the internet, and it's funny that he defends people like Tim Walz. You see that he was defending Adam Schiff. All these cronies, the disgusting politics that they involved themselves in leading up to the 2024 elections. You just go back to history, and it seems, again, as if there is a memory hold on the situation leading up to 2024 that got Donald Trump the win in the first place. Now you're seeing Gavin Newsom saying that he's proud to be part of this new hit list. This is no hit list. This is called accountability.
The Biden DOJ began investigating people in his orbit as early as 2022, 4 years ago, including his former chief of staff, who ultimately pled guilty to fraud and other charges in May. Back in March, the Daily Mail ran a story claiming that Governor Newsom's wife and her firm pocketed more than $3 million from a gender stereotypes charity. For more on this, we're joined by the Daily Mail's chief investigative reporter, Josh Boswell. Josh, great to see you. So what made you look into Newsom's wife in the first place, and what did you find?
Well, there are just always a lot of questions that seem to be swirling around the Newsoms and their finances, have been for years. And so I thought, this is a man who clearly is going to be running for president. This is worth looking at, what their finances are, what the shape of them are. And so when I had a look at Jennifer Newsom's charity, I found that she was paying herself since 2012 $3.7 million. This is a lot of money when you look at the amount that the charity brings in. It's sort of 1 to 1.7 million a year, and she's paying up to a third of that to herself and her own company.
Now, Anna, you're right. The Nick Shirley Act, along with many of the other disgusting propositions that they've passed unanimously in the House, or rather within the California lawmaking, what can you even call them? This unchecked Leviathan in California that continues to hurt Californians to their very pocket, that they will seek to gain as much as they want to. Now, Gavin Newsom has done Californians very shady concerning the elections, concerning the way that he has pocketed our own money. And not only that, do we have his position to make it impossible for the federal government to look into specific California, even voter rolls. We're talking about the way that he has not allowed the rules here has not allowed the federal government to look into the state regarding what we believe to be fraudulent when it comes to these issues. And so the only way we're talking about the border crisis in California, we're talking about the sanctuary city issues regarding voter ID, regarding not even using any sort of identification for voting, the homelessness, the fraud that is being utilized within the homeless community in order to gain themselves the upper hand, where you see ballot dump after ballot dump in favor for the Democrats. And it just gets worse and worse. You just go down this fat list. We're talking about an additional $25 billion, I believe it is, for the high-speed railway that hasn't laid a single track. California has a chance for change. And you have Xavier Becerra, and the comparison here between Steve Hilton, Xavier Becerra, who are moving forward to the general elections, California might vote the same. I think the only way that we can change that, as I've said before, you've got to go in hard. You've got to make it to where it's too big to rig. You've got to, instead of mail-in voting, go vote in person. Take advantage of the California law that allows you to take time off of work in order to vote. And of course, allow the federal government to go through these voter rolls and completely, anybody to investigate these voter rolls and to completely remove folks who haven't been living just go through an audit, complete audit of the system, And the way that the way that Californians have allowed this to happen is because they continue to vote the same for a different outcome. It's not going to happen. It's the same proverb. Now, I'm not talking of a biblical proverb, more like a proverb of humanity. The proverb of humanity is, you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. Now, I'm sure you can probably find a biblical equivalent for that. However, when the wicked rule, the people groan. But when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. And this is the way that we can get California back on track to a way that is going to be beneficial not only for Californians, but of course for the rest of the nation. As California goes, the rest of the nation goes. This is very big, and this is something that needs to be focused on in these midterm elections because we're seeing a huge surge. We're witnessing Republicans moving through to the general elections, and this could turn. This could turn completely back to a Democratic, where they are coming out on top this midterms, and it's very possible if something isn't done. So, guys, thanks so much for joining me tonight. If you guys appreciate anything you heard, you can email me freedom@equallyoakeshow.com, and let's keep the conversation going. Guys, I'll see you in the next one. God bless you. And let's keep it locked here. Peace.